Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to be experimenting with growing baby bok choy. This is Toy Choy in my AeroGarden. And I'm also going to experiment with using this new alternative grow sponge option rather than just the AeroGarden sponges. Now, one thing that you can see down at the bottom, it shows that it's made in China, which I'm generally not a fan of, just from a quality perspective, and also they don't always honor food safety or other safety type of things, so that is an issue. Also, I learned about these sponges from the channel AeroGarden Experiments, and someone in the comment wrote that these sponges aren't any good and that stuff will germinate, but then the roots can't go through the sponges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 3 sponges from this package, and then on the other side of the unit, I'm going to use the regular AeroGarden grow sponges. So that way I can compare and contrast with them. So I'll be using the exact same seeds on both sides. I will use these domes from AeroGarden, and I'll also use, in place of stickers, I use these reusable covers that replace the stickers. So I'll be using those as well. So everything will be exactly the same, except that I will, on the right side of the unit, I'm going to be using these sponges, and on the left side, I will use the AeroGarden sponges. Now, one thing that I saw on Amazon, the instructions say with these sponges, these alternate grow sponges, that you need to soak them for 3 to 5 minutes. And I don't know if the person that had the problem with it did that, but I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to soak the AeroGarden sponges because according to the instructions, you don't need to. So I'm just going to put these 3 sponges in the water, and I'm going to soak them for 5 minutes, and then I will come back and continue on from there. Okay, so these sponges have now been soaking for 5 minutes. Over here, I already have the AeroGarden sponges I put in. I did not soak them, but this one in particular kept popping up. So I did dribble some water, just like a tablespoon or so of water, over the sponges between the 3. So they haven't been soaked, but I did wet them. And I have put the seeds in those. Here are the seeds that I'm using. I'm going to put them now into these sponges that I've soaked, pop them in here, and then I'll bring you back. I've now put the seeds in each of the sponges. I attempted to put 3 seeds in each sponge. I may have put more in some because they're tiny seeds and they're real hard to handle. And also, I actually found it a little more challenging to put the sponges in these because the holes in the sponges were really tiny. And then also, since the sponges were wet, my fingers were wet, and so I may have grabbed more seeds. But my goal here is not to find which one germinates best, but if the roots will grow through. So now I'm going to put on these little sticker kind of things, or sticker replacements, and a dome on each one. And then I will start the garden, and I will bring you back probably in about a week so I can show you the progress of each of the sides. It is now day 4, and quite a bit is going on, as you can probably already tell even before I take the domes off. So I wanted to give you an update. Now remember that on the left side here are the AeroGarden sponges, and these are the off-brand sponges. And so we're going to take a look and see how things are doing. Okay, now I don't know how much you can tell, but this side, the off-brand, is actually doing slightly better than the name brand, especially this pod here. But the thing that I'm concerned about is not so much germination and initial growth, but about the roots going through. So I'm going to just take a look and see if anything's happening with roots. Okay, so I don't know if you'll be able to see this. There is a small root there, but there's not a lot of root activity, but there is a little bit. I don't see any roots coming through here. And actually on this one, it's very hard to see because it's up against the little white cage thing. There is a root coming through there. Okay, so a little bit of roots coming through on the AeroGarden side. Let's look at this one. And even this one that has grown quite a bit bigger, I am not seeing any roots coming through yet. Let's see. Same thing with this one, no roots going through yet. And let's look at this one. And no roots growing through yet. Now bear in mind that we have hardly any roots going through on the AeroGarden side, so it's too early to say that this is not working. This side over here, these knockoff sponges are not working. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll bring you back in a few more days and compare the growth as well as what's happening with the roots going through the sponge. Hello, it is now day 8 of this baby bok choy, and just as a reminder, on the left here are the AeroGarden sponges, on the right are the no-name sponges, the knockoff sponges. You can tell that both sides are growing really more or less the same. Now I want to take a look at the roots and see how they're doing, and to assist me in that I'm going to raise the light up just a little bit so that we can see everything better. Okay, so I raised up the light. Now let's take a look at how the roots are developing on the AeroGarden side. I don't know if you can see, but I do have some roots forming on that one. Oh yeah, and lots of roots here on this one. And this even has kind of a long root hanging down. Okay, so that's the AeroGarden sponge side. Now let's look and see how the other side is doing. You can see we have some roots, including one coming down from this. And this one doesn't have as much, but it definitely does have some roots that have come through. And this one also has some roots. So far it seems that the knockoff sponges are doing fine, doing just as well. And so what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to just thin these out. You can technically grow more than one baby bok choy in each pod, but I find that in general, everything does better if I only have one growing. So I'm just going to go through and just snip off the ones. And from that first pod, I chose this one because I don't know if you can see that there's kind of some yellow. It's just not as healthy. So basically what you want to do is you want to look at them and pick whichever one seems to be the healthiest. Like this one has 4 going, and this one is probably the healthiest. I would either keep this one or this one. You can work to kind of like cut apart the pods and separate them that way, but especially since I'm kind of doing an experiment with the roots, I'm just going to snip them. That's how I'll do it. So anyway, the next time that I bring it back, then there will be just one plant in each pod, and we'll continue to monitor how the growth does in each of the types of sponges. Okay, we are now 2 weeks in, 14 days into this grow, and you can see how things are looking. Again, on the left here are the AeroGarden sponges, on the right are the knockoff sponges, and the growth appears to be about the same on each side. Let's take a look at the roots. Okay, I don't know how well you can see, but I'll just hold up this one. The roots are looking good on the AeroGarden sponges. And oh wow, that one's really looking good. And so you can see that. Now let's take a look at the other sponges. Wow. Let me pull this aside so you can see. These are looking great. So the person that said that these knockoff sponges do not work well, I am guessing that they didn't soak them before putting the seeds in and all of that, because it appears that they're working just fine. So I will go ahead and bring you back in a week to give you a final update. A week, maybe, actually I might bring you back a couple of times. But anyway, to show you the ongoing growth of how these look. But as far as the sponges go, I would say that this has been a success. And I'll be sure to put a link in the description for both the AeroGarden sponges and these knockoff sponges, because especially on Amazon, sometimes the prices fluctuate, and at one point the AeroGarden sponges may be a better deal, and another point the other ones. So anyway, I'll bring you back for an update in about a week. It is day 21, and you can see how beautifully both sides are growing. In fact, if there's any difference at all, then the right side with the knockoff sponges is actually working better than the left side. The color on these is a little bit, let me see if I can pull the camera up so you can see. You may not be able to tell, but it's a little bit light. It's not quite as good, actually, on the AeroGarden side as it is on the knockoff side. Let's also take a look at roots. And it's actually, now these are big enough that it's a little bit difficult to pull through. And I did just notice, though, that this one that's part of the knockoff sponges, the color is also lacking a little bit. And so it could just be from where they're at and that they're not getting the light as well. So probably overall things are going the same on each side. But let's just take a look at the front, the roots on the front plants. This is the AeroGarden, and you can see how the roots are long. And now let's take a look at this side here. And you can see, maybe, hopefully you can see, that the roots are just as well in the knockoff sponges. So I'm going to conclude this. Technically, the bok choy is big enough to consume now. I think I probably will let it go for another week. To eat it, you can either cut it off at the base and eat the whole thing, or you can cut the outer leaves and just it will keep growing back either way. So the bottom line is baby bok choy grows really great in the AeroGarden, and I also want to say that the knockoff sponges, for me, worked just as well as the name brand AeroGarden sponges. The key with the knockoff sponges is you really do need to follow the instructions and soak them for a minimum of 3 to 5 minutes before you put the seeds in. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you would like the video, and if you would also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.